The sound. How's that? Got it. Okay, let me just get my stuff out. Okay, so I would like to call the combined Harb Historical Meeting to order at 7:05. In attendance are Sally Gallagher, Chuck Phillips, and Latimer, Sue Bandich, and myself, and one member of the public, Teresa Eller, who is a resident in the historic district. So the first order of business is public comment. I'll get to you separately, so you don't have to. All right, so there being no public comment, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the Harb meeting, the Harb HC meeting of May 2nd. Are there any comments about the minutes? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a move that the minutes be approved as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so it's a motion by Mr. Mandich, seconded by Ms. Latimer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. The minutes are approved unanimously. All right, so I would just like to quickly have, can you turn on your mic, which will cause this to pull back? And so I'm gonna, all right, I'm gonna shift myself to another mic. Will that?
I gotta ask where that sign's going. Anybody know?
I was just thinking the same thing.
I'm sorry.
Where is there a horse trail?
There's a sign over there, horse trail.
I'm just waiting on my mic. Okay, so that really didn't help too much. It puts you outside the screen again.
I tried.
I'm sorry. So what was that little comment, Chuck? I missed that because I was.
There's a sign over there that says horse trail. I want to know
Sign?
where that
It's-
sign's gonna be put.
Oh, I don't know. I can't even see it from here. Beats me. Anyway, Teresa, would you like to explain the situation, please?
Sure, absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Eller. I live here in Campbellsville at 1733 New London Road, which is right on that sharp curve, right at Appleton and New London. We're looking to do some refreshing to our house, which stemmed from some wind damage that we had from the last couple of storms, even a couple of months ago. This has kind of been ongoing. But we're looking to replace a good amount of things on the exterior of our house, including replacing the current vinyl siding with new siding, new vinyl siding in kind, just a different color. We currently have asphalt architectural shingles, so we're just looking to replace them again with in kind, just a different color. We have, I think, 6 replacement windows we're looking to replace. We currently have vinyl newer windows throughout the entire house. They don't have the mullions in them, so we're just continuing with exactly the same style, just to look consistent throughout the house, as well as our standalone garage. In addition, we're looking at replacing the materials on the decking in our front porch, as well as our back porch. We're not looking to make any modifications to the actual layout, just replacing. In the front, we have some teak wood, which has been buckling after our house was hit by a car a couple years ago. And in the back, we already have composite decking, one of the posts is failing, so that's why we're looking to just replace the entire deck with the same format, just updated materials. In addition, I think in the front, we're looking at replacing, we have 3 wood columns to hold up the front porch. So we're just looking to replace those with, again, the turnstile, same design, really just PVC columns. And then maybe adding a railing, which it looks like the previous owners were probably going to add a railing. And we think it would just be a nice architectural feature and little upgrade while we're doing that work. And I think that's it. But, so I did reach out to Mark Gordon, yesterday or last week, I think. I did just get in touch with him though. He was on vacation. So I talked with him earlier today, which he let me know that the meeting is today. First Tuesday happens to be on the 1st. So apparently I had missed the cutoff for putting in my application. So we're trying to see if we might be able to expedite somewhat, since we do have a contractor already on board looking to order materials, again, to kind of help with some of the roof leaking that we have. And some of the vinyl siding, we've patched it so it's not peeling off anymore, but it's a patch. So yeah, we're kind of just looking to get in front of you all to put in the application and do what we need to do to get this moving along.
So my question for the members is of the HARB, would they be amenable to try and schedule a special meeting later in August sometime if you know, I don't know what everybody's schedule is. On the face of it, this sounds straightforward. I don't really have all the materials in front of me, obviously, nobody does. But I was just I wanted to get a sense of the HARB in terms of what might be possible and when something might be possible if you were all agreeable to this. So that means Lou, Nan, and Chuck, and myself.
I'll be free after the weekend of the 18th. My son's getting married. So the last couple weeks of August.
Right. Chuck,
I'm
would you
looking.
be? Yeah, okay.
So Nan, you said after the 21st?
No, my son's getting married on the 19th. So I'll be back on the 20th. So the week of the 21st or the 28th.
Yeah.
So that would mean that if we were to do it try to do it on a Tuesday, it would be the 21st.
22nd.
22nd.
Oh, right. 22nd.
Or the 29th, I guess.
22nd is all white for me. That means nothing's in there.
Okay. Lou, would you be amenable to that? Are you going to be around?
22nd, I have another meeting, but I'm thinking about her time frame. Can we do it like next Tuesday or something?
Well, Nan's not going to be here.
Nan's not going to be here.
I don't know what Kathy's schedule is. So what I've got,
Tuesday, the month, it's an antique car meeting. That's it.
Isn't that the 29th? Oh, no, because this month is,
You start with the first.
right, just like us, yeah. Yeah,
How about, can I throw out
sure, I'm listening.
Thursday, this Thursday?
Is that gonna be time enough to, I think that's
Uh,
not,
I'm just, the planning commission is canceled,
right, I know what you're saying.
so there's an opening. That's all, that was the only reason for that. I know that's, yeah, that's pretty quick.
That really, it has very little time. Also, I have potential travel plans to
Gotcha.
visit a sick friend, so that's a little problematic for me because I'm the one who manages these meetings, so I would be trying to do that from the road. I doubt that would go well.
Are
let
there
me
other
just-
days in that
Well,
week?
that's what I was gonna look at. And the problem is, what I'd like to see is, so what about that Wednesday?
I mean, Wednesday, the 20th.
It's okay with me.
Yeah,
I could do that.
Wednesday, the 23rd.
Is Nan gonna be late?
The 23rd is okay with me.
I mean,
Is there a calendar on the township website? I'm looking.
oh, yeah, yeah. Are you looking?
No, there is a calendar. Okay, yeah, I've got it open. Let's see.
Is there anything, do you have anything marked on the 23rd?
23rd, looks like the 16th, yes, but the 23rd, no.
The
Supervisor.
16th, supervisors meet early this month. Yeah, which is
So-
why I looked at the 23rd.
Yeah, there's nothing flagged. You can't
Right.
even pick it actually, which means there's nothing there.
Right. So I talked to Jeff tomorrow. We could meet in 23rd.
Okay.
Which would give you some time to talk to Mark and make sure you've got all the stuff that you're going to need
Mhm.
for the meeting. He should be back here on Thursday.
Yeah, and I can give him a call and make sure maybe I can meet with him on Thursday. I'll be in the area, but yeah, I already have renderings, products, samples, all that good stuff. I
Right.
think
So
I
then,
have that.
yeah, then the township's going to have to scan all that and get it in off to us.
Yep.
And then we're going to have to, I've got to do a certain amount of prep work for the form, which involves pulling together a history of the house so far as we know it and that sort of thing. So, yeah, that really is, realistically speaking, I think that's a good time frame for us. It doesn't make things too crazy.
Yeah.
When you talk to Mark, I would suggest talking to Jeff and seeing if Jeff thinks the supervisors would be amenable to discussing it at a workshop meeting.
Okay.
I'm not sure when their workshop meeting will be in September.
Okay.
They could have a conflict with Labor Day.
Mhm.
But we can do what we can to make sure that we're pushing this along as fast as we can.
Okay. I really
Okay,
appreciate it
yeah.
so much.
No, I understand. With storm damage and that sort of thing.
Yep.
I understand. And given that it, as I say, it sounds from what you said, straightforward. So I haven't seen anything yet, but it does sound like we ought to be able, this should be a relative no-brainer, but it's just a matter of putting together a whole packet and it just takes a little time.
Yep.
And,
Understood.
Mark Gordon's not the only person who goes away on vacations.
Mhm.
Is your roof leaking?
Yes.
Leak every time it rains?
Not every time. Yeah, it's sometimes in the attic, which is actually our master bedroom. It's in the closet in a corner.
So with a leaking roof,
Mhm,
that is considered an emergency situation.
mhm.
And you should be able to get township permission to proceed with the roof part if you can start that part independently.
Okay,
Okay,
That's what I was.
right.
okay. Yeah, that would be wonderful if we can get working at least with that, because then everything else, if we have to mean, it might take a little longer to get to anyways, but then they'd be working from the top down, so.
Yeah, as long
logistically,
as
it
your
makes sense.
contractor has no problem working that way, it's something that you could get ordered, get started on. And you have the right, we would review the roof
Mhm.
after the fact.
Okay,
But if you're doing a similar asphalt shingle, we're really talking about a no-brainer.
mhm.
Just for curiosity, what's the color change?
So right now it's kind of like a pewter gray and we were just gonna go with triple.
That's pretty close.
Anyway, we don't regulate paint color, and while it's not painted, that's the equivalent of paint color.
Mhm,
So that's a non-issue from our
Okay.
point of view. Okay,
mhm.
Yes.
Yep.
All the other stuff.
Okay,
okay,
that
So you don't
works.
have to keep a bucket.
yeah, but just
I know.
talk to Mark Gordon and Jeff Eastburn first and make sure they're aware that you have a leaking roof, and as a result of that, you are entitled to go ahead with repairing your roof.
Okay,
Okay, so
Wonderful.
that nobody then comes along and say, hey, weren't you supposed to
Yep.
come before our, and explain that we'll look at that after the fact and deal with the other stuff before you proceed.
okay,
Okay,
wonderful.
okay,
Well, thank you all so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And I will get with Mark and Jeff this week.
Thank you.
very
All right,
good.
thank
All
you.
right, we have a nice evening, and I hope that's, I think that, we'll do what we can, but,
Yep.
at least with the roof, you do have the right to get started.
Okay, yeah, that's great. If we can
Okay.
get started with anything.
Yeah.
The rest is past for now, so it's okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
You too.
I'm just making sure I can see if anybody's trying to. I'm gonna bop up for a second. Bear with me. Yeah, I'm happy it said she might. Yeah, you should just go ahead and turn on you. And it'll just focus on both of us, then it'll be a little easier. Okay, so I will call Jeff tomorrow. About the 23rd. And put that in my calendar later. So we would meet at 7 o'clock, as usual. Unless somebody needs to meet earlier or later, and I'll be amenable to that. In terms of our agenda, now that we get back to that, as usual, there is nothing to report concerning the updating of the historic resource surveys. There's also nothing to report currently on the Churchill African Church Cemetery. I haven't heard from Crystal. I thought she was going to get in touch with me during July. I know that her family life has been complicated because her mother's been sick. So, and also, at least if we're having weather like we're having in July, nobody's going to get out there and start a cleanup anyway. So, for the time being, that's just on hold. And when I know more, I'll let everybody know. I did notice that there have been a number of news articles about the Lone Star tick, my favorite little current annoyance. So I think that spraying up remains a good idea. There's nothing concerning the other township cemeteries that I'm aware of. Is there anything that anybody has to bring up about that? No. As for the Mason-Dixon connectivity project, that's also on hold. It's not clear to me what the current state of that is, except that nothing is happening. I know that London Britain is eager to get that going. I know that the Chester County Planning Commission is aware of the situation. I don't, and it's all dependent upon the Brandywine Conservancy starting things moving. So I have to assume they're not in a position to start things moving. But I don't honestly know that. Right now, I'm a little bit in the dark. Not that I can answer any questions, but does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, I don't think there's anything to update about 896 road work in walkable Kemmelsville. I kind of was Sarah, Beth had been able to make tonight's meeting just to see where she stands on having made arrangements for the right of way with the PennDOT, because I'm just sort of intrigued as to when this project may get started, because once it starts, we're going to have 18 to 24 months of misery on 896.
Is that connected with the roundabout work too?
The roundabout will be part of that. It goes from basically the New London line almost to the Delaware line. And 841, Kemblesville are two of the big pieces of work that they'll be doing on that. And then they'll be realigning the Good Hope intersection, because that sort of angles in and it'll tee in. And then there's going to be a turn lane at Hess Mill, I think, for southbound traffic. There'll be a turn lane at Chambers Rock for southbound traffic. So those areas will be areas where there'll be significant additional road work rather than just repaving and doing a certain amount of widening. Anybody have anything to add to that or want to make any comments?
The pedestrian access committee is pursuing a crosswalk at Chisel Creek onto, it's called, that's the Ford Farm. Is that what that one's called?
Yeah, it's Wilkinson. Scott Wilkinson owns
Yeah.
the farm now. I think it's two brothers or something, but historically to the Johegan Trail there.
So a crosswalk across Appleton.
Across Appleton in order to connect with the existing trail, basically.
Yeah, in order to potentially connect Nickel Park,
Okay.
which does have, it has ramifications, I guess, for Kemblesville.
Right.
So.
I mean, that's part of a greater project of creating a connection basically between the Big Elk area and the White Clay Creek Preserve too.
I
believe.
guess it's a lot of walking, but
It is, well, it is, but there are people who come out here and do a lot of walking. There are trail clubs that come out here and hike all over the place.
Mhm.
I personally know somebody who came out, and I think they started in what's the preserve off 841? I can't.
off of 841.
Yeah, it's between 841 and Walker. It's on both sides of 841.
Oh, south of
Yeah.
841. I'm looking
It's
at
like
it.
Natural Lands or something has that.
Easdale.
Peacedale, thank you.
I should have known.
So they parked at Peacedale and they walked from Peacedale down Mount Olivet into Fairhill and back. So there are people who do this sort of thing.
So Chuck, do they have a trail through Chisel Creek now?
No.
No, right. So crossing the road is a small piece. They have to get all the way through the old golf course, don't they?
Yes. Yes, Jeff Eastburn was taking that on.
Oh, great. I'm sure Paul Overton has been working for years, hopefully. He's on it too. No?
He's not. Well, he's not on the ad hoc committee, so I kind of asked that question, but didn't go far.
Oh.
So,
Oh.
um,
Okay.
yeah, on a broader discussion of that, anything that's going to be along roads is going to be extremely hard to convince or get with the current board. So anything along roads.
Because they're worried about people getting hit.
Yeah, they're under the impression that if they quote encourage it, that the town is liable. I made the point that there's no encouragement. It's the laws are what the laws are, but at the end of the day, the opinion seems to be that the road is for the cars and everybody else better stay away.
But Appleton Rose is owned by the Commonwealth, not the township.
Yeah, I don't know. But Jeff's, he's going to pursue that. Evidently, he feels that the state will give him that, or there's potential.
So what is the crosswalk going to look like? Or is it just at the idea stage?
It's just at the idea stage.
Okay,
I think what it'll look like will be what the state will want it to look like,
Right.
which actually he did discuss that somewhat. Yeah, so we're probably going to have flashing lights.
mm-hmm.
There will, it's going to be a state. It'll be all the bells and whistles that you would think would go into a state crosswalk.
Along those same lines, do you know that Phil Gagan passed away? That the trail's named after, that goes around the Ford farm. He was instrumental in doing trails. He passed away from Alzheimer's a couple weeks ago.
Is that why there were flowers?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. I wondered if somebody had been hurt out there while I
No.
was away, because those roadside memorials are all over the place. And
Yeah, no, Phil passed away. And so Paul Overton and I added some information about how instrumental he was to his obituary. So you can look that up if you want to see it. But yeah, Phil passed away.
Nan, do you have a copy of his obituary?
I don't. I kept looking and then I saw those flowers and I said, because I kept looking because I was going to go to the funeral and weeks passed and I didn't remember it until I saw the flowers. So if you look online, I'm sure you could find it.
Okay, because I try and keep a copy of that just for general historical records.
Yeah, I'm sure it's online. I haven't looked, but I know that
Okay.
they really wanted us to say something about his, he was instrumental with open space and particularly trails.
Right.
Right.
So
So I'm a little surprised that, because when I talked to Jeff, who called me to get the information for the obituary, that they wanted to put something up at the township building so people could find the trailhead from the parking lot. So I wonder why they're putting the crossroads down in Chisel Creek instead of in front of the post office, where people park at the post office and have to cross the road. We're gonna have to cross it there, but it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, it's in Google. I'm looking at Google right now. So his last name was spelled
Gagan, G-E.
Oh,
Yeah, Gagan, Joe Hegan is how the publisher's pronounced. Okay.
It's
Okay.
Gagan. I thought it was Gagan, but.
No, it probably
That's
is.
wrong. It's
No, no.
Geoghan, I think.
yeah. That's
You
it.
find
So,
it?
well, yeah, Google actually shows the township office as being parking for
Right,
the
it is.
Hagen Trail
No,
parking.
it is. But then I'm saying that Jeff, I guess Phil's son said, we'd like to have a little more signage about if you park here where the trailhead is.
Yeah,
And I said, well, just put a sign up that says you're parked here and the trailhead is there. But then you're saying that they're gonna put flashing lights down the road at Chisel Creek where there's not even a trail yet. So I'm not, I'm a little confused, so. So how are you gonna get from the parking from the township? You're gonna have to walk along Kathy's, and down, I don't, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's the only safe place to cross.
Where?
I would walk down along the post office and along the edge of Kathy's property until it gets level, and then you can cross directly over.
Yeah,
Because you
but
can
that's not
actually,
Chisel Creek, but that's not Chisel Creek. I would go
no,
down along behind the post office by Kathy's fence and then cross right where the flowers were.
right,
Right.
yeah. Except I would walk in front, yeah,
Well, whatever, front or back, it
Right.
doesn't really matter, but
because that's what I do to get home when I go back down.
yeah, but don't tell the township because they say it's dangerous, but anyways,
really.
I'm curious. I'm curious that they think that the way to cross Appleton Road is way down by Chisel Creek, where there's not even a trail through those folks who've always said that they will do a trail, but haven't yet. There may never be a trail, maybe the bridge to nowhere, the crossroads to nowhere, so. Anyways, yeah, so,
I agree. I mean, I said it 3 or 4 times that the most important thing is getting the connection to Nickel Park before you worry about the crossing, but
or you could do two. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah,
But
two
it
would
might be
be,
best, I don't know if you want to join me with this. This is not a historical thing, but I'm on now, we'll talk about this later, but with the new park, the new state park, but trying to calm down the traffic on Appleton Road and doing crossroads and stuff like that. So we may want to go to our public officials that are not township, that are state, which would be what's his name?
Lawrence.
Yeah,
Lawrence
Lawrence and oh God, I'm having I know Diddaman's replacement, a woman, her husband
Minute?
is a consultant. Her husband is a consultant. Houlihan, yeah.
Yeah,
Houlihan?
Chrissy Houlihan, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to talk to her about stuff like that. It's got nothing to do with the township. Because it's a state road.
right.
Anyways, all right, sorry, we're off the mark right now.
I've never sat in a meeting that doesn't go off topic, so that's okay. Raising awareness of Campbellsville and Franklin history. So in September 8th, no, 15th, September 15th, the township is having a fall festival at the park. And so there are going to be tables for, no, the 16th, sorry. They're having a fall festival at the park, and they're going to be tables for various township committees there. And so we're going to have a table. We're going to have some brochures. I was reviewing that today, and so I've got a brochure on the Mason-Dixon line, a brochure on the Historical Commission itself, which is an old one with a little tweaking, a brochure on Benjamin Franklin and his relationship with the township, and a brochure on township history generally. And we'll get the township to print up I don't know how many, but those for us, and maybe a copy of the 1883 map of the township. Get that. I have a file which could be printed large, a large piece of paper. And maybe 1 or 2 other things. I wondered if anybody else had any suggestions for what we might have there for this table. Yes,
And I don't know if we want to have information on what's going on with the big Elk Creek Park, which is nothing right now. People may have questions about that. And I don't know if we want to mention the historical aspects that are in there or no. I mean, not a map or anything like that, but be prepared to talk about it because
I can talk about it if somebody asks about it. If the park comes up. I kind of feel like, given that they're at an extremely exploratory stage, that saying a lot about it is kind of out of place at this point. I don't know. But yeah, I would be happy to talk about it if anybody asks me any questions. I don't even know, if I'll get more than 10 people to stop by the table or not. And, I'm also invite people to join the historical commission if they're so interested.
I put on my calendar, I can join you for a little while. What time is the festival?
I
can
think
too,
it's like
Paul.
noon to 5.
Yeah, I'll come.
I don't know if this is a selling point or not, but it might be an opportunity to meet my granddaughter. Because we'll be
Oh.
coming back from, I'm driving up that morning from a week at the beach. And so I'm basically gonna come up, get here by 10 o'clock or so, and then head over to the park. So I'm hoping she'll come out. They'll have fire trucks and other stuff that they're I'm not, they're working on it. I'm not sure how big it will be, but it's a start to a community event, and they've been doing other things in the park. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea for us to be there.
I can help. Just have it on my calendar.
I can
Okay.
help too, Paul.
Yeah, so I would say it should be at noon, and it would be good actually if I should be up, but I'll have to make sure that maybe leave all the materials with the township so that if I'm not up in time for some reason, it can be set up. And if you're able to be there, then you can at least start without me.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. As long as they haul all
Yeah.
the stuff there, that's fine.
But I think they're supposed to have food and some other stuff. I think they were talking about, like a bouncy castle or something like that. The usual things you expect at festivities that are designed to attract families. But yeah, so that was also impetus to finish up the Mason-Dixon brochure, which I did this afternoon. And I'll just send everybody a copy of those. If you want to just take a look at them, if your eye catches any typos or anything like that, or I appear to have said something stupid. Can do that. So concerning the HC website, I don't have anything to report. We put a few things on there last couple months. We haven't done anything with it recently. If anybody knows anybody who wants to share photos with the township, as always, we'll be happy to scan them. For township history, the only side light to this is there's a retired University of Delaware professor by the name of Tim Barnikoff, who's working on a history of the White Clay Valley, potentially as a book. He's I believe he's an ex-urban affairs professor, and as such, he's obviously published. They all have to publish or perish. And so he's working with London Britain, and has, I've been sitting in on that, and I suppose at some point I may be doing a little bit with him on the Mason-Dixon line, since that's a local thing. And there's nothing, right now, there's nothing else to report in terms of that. Nan and I both met at where we were at a stakeholders meeting for the for the Big Elk Preserve State Park, sorry. And they had 5 meetings. One of them was environmental. So that involved folks like the Elk Creeks Watershed Association. And I'm not sure what the other ones are. They did say there would be a meeting with township supervisors at some point. There, we sort of discussed what hopes, fears, things that we would like to see with respect to the park. It was interesting in the sense that for me, it was such an initial meeting that I didn't go there armed with ideas in terms of what I wanted to see for the historic resources in the park, because I had no idea what they would or would not be willing to do. But one of the ideas which I thought was interesting that got tossed out, I think, by Todd, although I'm not sure if it was him or not. There's a architectural firm that's sort of managing the process and will be coming up with a plan. And he was with that firm, and he said, well, you could put, bricks in the trail to mark property lines and talk about what farm was here, what property line you were crossing, what farm you were entering. I think it would be good. I encourage that they do something with the history, the whole history. So, the farms that were there, the native culture that was there before settlement, the fact that that's an area where you had overlapping grants, because New Munster goes into the park. That's where the Mason-Dixon line is. And between what they've got along the state lines in the White Clay Creek Preserve and the markers they got out there, there's a story they can tell about the Mason-Dixon line and surveying, et cetera. So it's all very exploratory and talking about ideas and not developing a plan just yet. And it sounds like any of this stuff, if it would happen, it could be years before some of it happens, but some of it would, I think, dovetail with the Mason-Dixon connectivity project at some point. We'll see what happens. Nan, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I agree. I mean, they were interested in everything we had to say about the historical stuff, which was good.
Right.
Although it is DCNR and what they might do or might not do is kind of up for grabs. But the consultants were very welcoming and want to walk with us this winter. Yeah, both Rob, I think it will work out fine. It will work out the way it's going to work out, but they were very welcoming.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. So subsequent to that, I passed some materials on to Todd, whose last name I cannot remember, and it's definitely passing them on to Todd. Maybe mainly maps and things like that, and pointing them in the direction of maps that we have available on our website that we've posted, where we also have links to maps. And then I met with Sarah Sato, who is the new education person for the park. The park now has, I guess at some point it did have an education person, but she is responsible for the park and the preserve, and I'm not sure if she's also responsible for Ridley as well. But we talked again about things like the Mason-Dixon line and the farms that are in there. She wants to see them. She's talked with Emily Kilby about going out. And so I think what we need to do is we just need to coordinate this so that we're not all making multiple trips. I learned from Todd that a sort of deadline to get an inventory of historic resources in the park is probably at the end of the year, that while they could add on anything that comes in after then, if it's going to have any real incorporation in the report, it needs to be in by the end of the year. In any case, at this point, it's not going to be, a significant and determining element. It's going to be a feature of the plan rather than something major. At least that was their feeling at presently. So I hope to stay in touch with Sarah Sato because she's interested in putting on educational programs. And London Britain has made available, there's a lot of information online in London Britain's online storage files that I and David Hawk of New Garden put together on the Mason-Dixon line. There's also a real trove of clippings on the establishment of the park and the dam and that whole issue. And so they're being made available to her. And I'm hoping that when she discovers things, she'll share them with us. And as we discover things and I'm adding new things to those files, I'll let her know. But it will be good to have some sort of cooperative relationship with her because she is the education person at the park, and historical stuff is, one element. Environmental stuff is another important element of what she does. Any questions, comments?
Have there been any conversations about how much this park's going to connect with Fairhill?
The one thing I heard was that they're not interested in building a fence.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's a plus.
No, they're talking with Fairhill. They had a stakeholder, they had
Mhm.
several stakeholder meetings, one of which Fairhill was involved. The new manager, the old manager, Rachel, is gone, thankfully. But anyways, the new one, they've been talking to him. And they do agree that they don't want Fairhill to take the quote unquote burden of recreational horseback riding, bike riding, hiking, that they will work with them. So that's their response. Does that help?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's if there's going to be trails that literally go from one to the other. I mean, Fairhill, you pay to go in. Are they? I mean, I
Right.
don't know.
I asked that question actually, and they're not,
Okay.
Fairhill's not that worried that people are gonna park. And I know there's some cheapskates that will park there and then use Fairhill as well. That's not their thing. Pennsylvania is not allowed to charge admission. So that's the difference. They have the same thing in White Clay. Don't forget that you can park in Pennsylvania and end up in Delaware where you have to pay.
Yeah.
So that's not really an issue. They are, they do want to work together with Fairhill because they realize it is connected. So it seems like, I don't know the new park manager in Fairhill, but the other one was not very, in my opinion, she didn't like me. She was not very amenable to lots of things. So hopefully this guy is different. I can see some changes in Fairhill. It looks like he is. So I think that will work. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Emily Kilby talked about a lot of trails that were there, the Elbow Lane, which goes through Fairhill and then through the Big Elk Creek, goes in as Elbow Lane, kind of, sort of, and comes out as Augustine Lane. We talked about that, and that would be a great trail. So there is talk about it. So connecting the two parks.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's great that they're not concerned because that would be That would kind of stink if there was like a.
Well, I mean,
divided
I tell
purpose.
friends too, who say that like riding horses in from Pennsylvania and they don't feel that they need to have a pass into Fair Hill. And I said, spend $100, just get the pass. You know what I mean? Just-
It's one of
Or
my
if you're my
charities.
age, it's $10 for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
one of
just
my,
do it. It's like, don't even think about it. You
It-
know,
it's
but,
one of my charities. And that $10 thing just throws me. It's like, what,
but
why? No, it's a charity. I just, every
Right.
year, $100. That's it. Yeah.
so they are working together. They are
Good.
trying to work together. It sounds like they're on friendly terms. So, yeah, I have my ear to the ground for that.
Okay, cool.
Anything else? No, okay. In terms of talks and training, in September, I'm not sure of the date, but it will be the second Thursday, so that's the 10th. No, that's August, sorry. The second Thursday. Is the 14th. Oh, I'll be out of town for that. Yeah, so there will be a talk in New London on the history of Cape May. They had Pat Williams had heard the speaker at the New York Senior Center, and she liked the talk, and he's going to come out and do the talk at New London, and he's actually coming out. He lives down in Cape May, so it's nice that he's coming up to do it. But we figured that a sort of summer resort talk might not be a bad thing to start off at the end of the summer. It might interest people. You never know. I never know who's going to turn up for what talk. Anyway, that will be the second Tuesday at 7 p.m. at the New London Academy.
Second Tuesday or Thursday?
Thursday, sorry. Yeah, I do that all the time.
You know,
It's
one of the interesting things is when we walk down the trail there and along the Big Elk, the houses that are there by the two houses that were there by the pond, those were summer residences, weren't they?
That's what they were saying, that they were
Yeah.
used as, I don't know if they were always used as summer residences, but
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
there were-
something when we do the history, that's kind of something that's kind of fun. I mean, I grew up in
Right.
Delaware County and there used to be some big houses up on a hill that people just came out for the summer from Philadelphia. So
Mhm.
that's not uncommon that people used to come to the stick, so to speak, like here, and spend the summer here. And, you know, because I don't think they had any heat or anything like that. So.
yeah, those houses had fireplaces at least.
At least, but anyways, I thought I'd
Yeah.
bring it up that that's something for this area that we might find out as we do our research, as we get through that, the state park research.
Yeah, it's actually, Elk Township has a thick history, sort of. It's a compilation of old newspaper clippings and other things on some of this stuff. So there's actually an extensive amount of little bits and pieces on the old paper mill in there. So I'm one of the things I've got to do is try and start copying that. So we can use it in terms of the reports and stuff. So I have to look and see if there's something about those houses.
Yeah, it would be fun. Might be fun. I don't know if you've ever sent a letter out. I know we've done it in the newsletter, but a letter out to people saying, do you have any information that we might be, or any other historical folks might be interested in? For instance, I finally got into a box that came from my father that turned out to be letters that he wrote to his mother for 3 years during the Second World War that I sat down and read. I didn't even know what they were. So my opinion is that maybe other people have the same boxes in their in their closets that we might
Right.
ask them to take a look at. And he lived in Swarthmore, which is close to where I grew up. So I'm going to call the historical committee and say, do you have any interest in some of these letters from somebody who lived in Swarthmore? So that's just, I thought it might be interesting to see if people have stuff in their closets.
Yeah, that was sort of something I was kind of hoping to do with this fall festival, is if we can engage people and let them know that, we're not looking necessarily to acquire their materials, but we'd love to make scans of it, as we've done with other things for other people.
But not
So-
just us. I mean, what if, like, for my stuff's from Swarthmore, so like bring us your stuff and we'll direct you on the right historical. I mean, it's
Yeah,
gonna-
well, that's true too. Yeah.
yeah, just because it's not here, it's still not, it may be valuable, so.
Right. Anything else on talks? Lou, you always seem to have something.
Trying to think. This car shows.
All right, I'll move on to the revisions of the historic ordinance, and this is really waiting on a discussion with the zoning officer on certain questions that the solicitor raised, and I've got to get back to Jeff on that. So that's sitting, but that's where that stands.
That's already through planning, correct?
Long time ago.
Yeah, then it's just going directly to supervisors, right?
It should be, I would think that it would not need to go back, but Jeff may just touch base with Dave to see what he thinks.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dave would be fine with it not coming back.
We just aren't doing a lot of meetings lately because nothing's coming up, so
Yeah.
try to avoid that.
I wouldn't want to force you all to come to a meeting to.
That's not the side I meant. I just meant it might take
Yeah.
4 months for us to get a meeting. I don't know. Just,
Something will come up. I mean, we didn't have, it's been months, if not more, it's been more than a year before anybody's, well, not more than a year, but it's been months since anybody's been here with any kind of discussion about hard work. So
yeah,
I
but we
was-
have our quarterlies. I'm not even sure that the planning commission.
are you guys supposed to
have
meet
quarter-
once a quarter?
I don't know.
I don't know what your rules are. I know I'm like third alternate, but I've never read the rules concerning how often you meet.
There's a reason why I show up early on the first meeting of the year. And that is so that I don't have to worry about those rules. It's an art form.
What's happening with the contested house? Anything?
Nothing, as far as I know, not right now. I mean, it's semi-stabilized.
Yeah.
So I've sort of been thinking that no news is good news. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but when the shed went in, it ended up being gable roofed after all. Rather than, I don't know what you call the barn.
Gambrel.
Yeah. So it does look more, typical of what might have been built, although because it's kind of narrow and vertical, it's kind of atypical looking. But it is a gable roof. We seem to be getting to the right place, not always by direct means. So for the moment, I'm hoping no news is good news.
That's good.
We're not a police agency, we're an advisory agency, so we don't really have a role to play in till we're told we have something to handle. But I haven't heard anything.
Good,
Yeah,
yes, as you say, no news is good news.
yeah, I hope so. Is there anything else? We don't have any new business proper, but is there anything that anybody would like to bring to the attention of the commission?
There's a right at the upper edge of West Grove on 841, somebody, I guess the borough or somebody's opened a little history station or historical resource spot
Mhm.
that's open on Sundays,
First Sunday, I think, of the month.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen cars there.
It's Scott Steele. I think it's a private
Might be.
museum.
It was an upholstery shop for a while.
Right. And so one of the talks we were kicking around with New London, we have a number actually of local little museums. David Porter has one in Elkton that's oriented to Chester County. There's obviously the archives in Oxford's kind of functions as a museum as well. Kennett has that little history
Yeah.
center. So we were thinking of maybe asking David Porter and Scott Seal to come in and just talk about their museums in the context of all these little resources that are available. So that's a potential talk probably in November or next year, because there's already a talk lined up for the September.
The West Grove Museum.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
I'm
they
not
call it.
sure what it's called. It's
That's what Google calls it.
I think it's
Oh,
like either,
okay,
it might be
okay.
the West Grove History Center, the West Grove Museum or something. I'm not sure what his official, he's on Facebook. But
He's
it's
written
not,
he's written a couple books
has he?
on West Grove, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say a couple. I know of one, but he's been a history buff for years. Because I went to school with him. Yeah, just kind of fascinated with the history of West Grove. So he's really expanded on it and done well. And I think he had all that stuff in his house. What I understood, if he had a garage there or something, I'm not sure. But yeah. And then I went by there one day and saw that the upholstery shop was gone and he had opened that in there. So that's nice. But I haven't been to it. So.
I know I had heard talk for like a couple years that he was planning on opening a museum, that he was working toward opening a museum. And then all of a sudden it was open without a whole lot of advance notice.
Yeah,
There's a museum in the Red Rose Inn too, I believe.
I have not been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's
So there.
just
sorry.
town history.
Yeah. So there are a number of these little things, around the area. Some more significant than others, but we thought it might be interesting to just sort of give them all a mention and then have a couple people come in and talk about their museum.
Oh, it would. I want to get down to David Porter's place. Have you been there?
No, I haven't. I'm suffering from a combination of having either too much to do or no desire to do it. And so it's not a good combination. So when I get my act together, I've always got lots of little things on my plate,
Yeah, I hear you.
which is, it's like the upcoming fall festival was the reason I finally got the Mason-Dixon brochure in order. And now that they're in order and we get a bunch printed up, I can go talk to 1723 and see if they want to post some, and maybe I can get some over in the cidery and over at Paradox, because it'd be nice to have some of these things floating around. Just another way of making contact with people and letting people know a little bit about local history.
Yeah. Maybe Dave and Scott will put them in their museums.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know.
You never know. There's a lot of misinformation out there on the Mason-Dixon line and the Delaware Arc. Just little things that, and I don't know where they come from, but they're just constantly doing that. And Sarasota had a question about, I don't know if you've ever hiked out to the Tri-State Marker, but when you get to the Tri-State Marker, there's a geodetic disc on top of it that probably I don't know, USGS probably put it there. And then there's another one off to the side by 20 or 30 feet. It's a concrete pillar and it has another disc on it. And they both sort of indicate that they're like the northeast corner of Maryland. And so she was asking me about it and I was saying, no, I don't. I know what they look like. And I don't think the other one really is the northeast corner of Maryland, but I did some looking, which is when I began to find some of this misinformation. And I found the geodetic survey fact sheets on them, which clarify what each one is. And the one that is off to the side was the disc associated with what now? The station, like when they redid the survey, the station was sited at that location rather than directly over the actual corner. And so they had to determine distances and stuff, and that's why they've got the disc over there. So I passed that on to her, and then I mentioned that on one of these trail sites, I found a trail, a description of the trail, and it says you come out there and you kind of come upon it suddenly, and it's not real obvious because it's a pillar that's about 2 feet out of the ground, and it's gray stone. It doesn't visually pop that much. And the person went on to say that there's no explanation as to why the Tri-State Marker only has the letters M and P on it and no D for Delaware. And so I sent that off to Sarah and I said, this would be a really good place for a little educational signage, because Pennsylvania is the only one who has public access to that location. Delaware share and Pennsylvania share access to the Arc Corner Monument, and Delaware has the Postmark West Monument, but Pennsylvania is the only one. You walk through Delaware to get there. The trail goes in and out of Pennsylvania and Delaware, but it would be up to DCNR to put something out there, and I think they ought to, because it does raise the question of why does the Tri-State Marker not have Delaware on its
Sure.
hill? And there's apparently another Tri-State Marker that was erected by Graham that's on the grounds of Stein Haskell that is a triangular marker, and it does have all 3 states, because that was the location that Colonel Graham decided was really the tri-state location. And this is all about the wedge and whether the wedge belongs to PA or Delaware. And so if the wedge belongs to Pennsylvania, the 3 states come together much further down. And so he put his tri-state marker there. And that's why the marker he put at the northeast corner of Maryland doesn't show Delaware. He was the person responsible for all of that.
Friends of mine lived in the house. Well, they're both gone now, but they were members of the Antique Car Club, and every Thanksgiving they had a ceremony there with pilgrims and music and all that stuff on Thanksgiving morning at the Tri-State Marker that was on their property, which is the last house just before you get to Terrapin Lane
Mm-hmm.
down there on the left.
That's on the Delaware side, or is that?
Yeah, that's on the
Yeah.
Delaware side.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were Druids.
Pardon? No.
It's a very old English Christmas.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, it just sounds like a Druid festival. Oh,
But
so
anyway.
they were on Terrapin Lane?
No, they were actually on 896.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a large split level house from 1960 or so on the left.
So is that the first
in-
house over the line?
It might
in
be the
Maryland?
first house in Delaware.
And
Maryland's on the right, Delaware's on the left at that
Yeah.
particular spot.
yeah. Gotcha.
I don't know who lives in the house now.
I don't know. Anything else? If not, we can call it a night at 8:15.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
I don't think we really do.
Oh, okay.
I just Anyway, if you'd like to move that we adjourn, you can.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
You're in charge. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there being no further business, I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:15 and just remind the hard members in attendance that we are going to be meeting on the 23rd of August. And
Good.
I hope we will get all the materials to everybody expeditiously, but Teresa Ellis sounds eager to get it done. So I would assume it should be straightforward. You all have a nice evening.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
night.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can, it's still light out
It is.
today. We're not ending up in the dark. You go out for a walk, get some fresh air. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.